For centuries, believers all across the world assumed that every end-time prophecy pointed back to a single geographical center, the land of Israel, but hidden deep within the oldest vaults of Ethiopian Christianity, preserved in a language older than Latin and untouched by Western councils, lies a prophecy that completely rewrites this long-held expectation. It suggests that the first tremor of the final age will rise far away from Jerusalem, in a region the world has largely ignored. This manuscript, guarded by monks for over 1,000 years, claims that the opening sign won't appear where theologians expect, but in a land described as the Forgotten Gate of Eden, an entrance sealed after the flood. As scholars debate its authenticity, the text's predictions are resurfacing at a moment when global tensions echo its warnings with disturbing precision. According to this prophecy, the earliest people to witness the shift of ages would not be kings, nations, or armies, but a quiet group known as the Keepers of the First Dawn. These guardians are described as descendants of an ancient priesthood established long before Moses received the tablets, before Abraham walked the desert, before Israel even existed as a nation. Their identity was deliberately concealed through layers of symbolic language, rise mountains, and rivers whose names appear nowhere in modern maps. Yet, when Ethiopian scholars compared these descriptions to local traditions, they discovered an unsettling match: remote highland communities who claimed to carry rituals older than the Ten Commandments. If these people are truly the heirs of that forgotten line, then the end times timetable begins, not in Israel, but in the very birthplace of humanity itself. The manuscript details a phenomenon called the awakening of the three springs, described as water that rises where no river existed before. According to the text, this event marks the unlocking of a spiritual seal placed after the fall of the Watchers. The prophecy states that when these hidden springs begin to flow again, the nations will be pulled into a conflict not over land, but over revelation, each one demanding ownership of a truth buried since the early ages. What terrifies scholars most is that satellite imagery has recently detected unexplained water sources emerging across East Africa, precisely in regions linked to the prophecy. Whether coincidence or cosmic timing, the alignment between text and reality is too close to dismiss, forcing theologians to reevaluate the assumptions that shaped centuries of Christian belief. Even more shocking is the prophecy's claim that a voice of correction will rise from a land overlooked by empires, a place described as the Shadow Kingdom untouched by Roman hands. The manuscript emphasizes that this voice will not come from a church, a temple, or a throne, but from someone who uncovers a lost truths, someone who reveals the ancient covenant that predates the Old Testament. The prophecy warns that this revelation will divide the world in two: those who cling to inherited tradition, and those who embrace the forgotten origin of humanity. For Ethiopian monks who preserved this text, the idea that God's timeline does not start where Western Christianity taught is not heresy but restoration. The final passages describe a moment when Israel, the Western world, and even the great religious institutions will look outward, searching for signs that were never meant to appear in their lands. The prophecy concludes with a declaration, as bold as it is unsettling: when the nations look east, the end will begin in the place where Eden first breathed, whether metaphor or literal geography. This line suggests that the story of the end returns to the beginning, to the cradle of creation itself. As historians, theologians, and seekers confront this rediscovered prophecy, one question remains impossible to ignore. If the final age begins where humanity began, then everything we thought we understood about the end times may have been built on the wrong foundation, and the world may not be ready for what comes next.